Team Coaching Global Summit.
Okay.
This feels like a moment.
It is a moment, Jonathan, because this is actually the first session of the very first Team Coaching Global Summit. So it is a moment, and thank you for being with all of us in this wonderful moment. Thank you very, very, very much. So it is exactly the hour, and we are going to be very punctual because we only have 45 minutes to talk about creative breakthroughs in team coaching with Gillian Walter. This is Katerina Kanelidou, and you already heard the show Jonathan Reitz. We are from the Team Coaching Global Alliance and hosting this session. Feel free to say hi in the chat box. I see some of you already started, and add your location where you are joining us from. As I said, we will have 45 minutes together. Please keep your microphone on mute to avoid distractions. This session had over 400 registrations. So yeah, we are in awe with you. And after these introductions, Gillian will take the stage with her presentation. If you have any questions during the presentation, please use the chat. Put your questions on the chat. After Gillian's presentation, we hope to have a few minutes for some Q&A before we close this session. And our session is with Gillian Walter. Who is Gillian Walter? Well, she's British, but she lives in Switzerland. And here is one thing. Gillian is one of the few coaches worldwide that hold multiple accreditations or credentials. She is an MCC and ACTC with ICF, and she is also a master practitioner and a supervisor, or as it is said, ESIA, I say that, with the EMCC. She's also in the leadership team of the Global Supervisors Network, and she's the author of 𝗕𝗿𝗲𝗵𝗁 of Brave Voices, the resources, where she is using art and poetry as a metaphor to discover new perspectives. She is now finishing writing the second volume. She has created 5 books. It's not a coincidence that's about creativity, this session. She has created 5 books with hands-on creative methods that provide step-by-step creative ways for coaching client situations. She is the author of Inside Out Academy Creative Coaching Tools Library. She wanted to design resources for multiple learning, thinking, and processing styles to support coaches growing our toolkits. And she's also, we are very proud because she's also a trainer, supervisor, and mentor at Team Coaching Global Alliance. Her note says that she loves being part of the team and inviting creative methods into supervision group work. Gillian, the floor is all yours.
Wow, more than 400 registrations and the first session of the first ever summit. No pressure, no pressure at all. I am so thrilled to be here. I have to admit I was getting a little bit distracted by all the wonderful, the names in the chat that I know. Oh, so good to know you all there. So, as Katerina said, we really don't have very much time. So I'm going to take a dive into creativity, so hopefully leaving you with some sort of ideas as to what that is. I believe that creativity is not a detour from serious team coaching. I believe that it's actually the new perspective. It's the new insight. It's the breakthrough. So while we all settle in, and I can see lots and lots of people still arriving, I'm going to invite you to just take a moment and ground yourself. So just, even if your feet aren't on the floor, pop them on the floor and just notice your feet. Notice your body supported. It might be by the floor, it might be by a chair. Doesn't matter what it is. But in all this excitement, just taking a moment to invite yourself to arrive. And in this super short session, we'll explore creative, science-backed tools that help teams reflect, realign, reimagine. I'm aiming for you to leave with 3 methods and some of the core principles that you can use confidently and effectively in your virtual or your in-person team coaching practice. And as people are still coming in and you're grounded, I would just say, grab that's not very good, blue on blue. Grab a little pack of post-it notes or a scrap of paper, just anything at all, and something to write with, because I will be inviting you to get creative. Okay, so Katerina, could we please have our first slide with the 9 pictures on? No, so the one above that, thank you. So let's start with some creative check-in. Now that you've noticed how you're arriving and you've checked in with yourself, if your mood, your energy were a kind of weather today, what would it be? There are 9 images there as prompts, but there's no right or wrong. Can be anything. So as you're noticing, just pop it into the chat. If you were a kind of weather today and how you're arriving, what would that be? Sunshine, blue skies, leaves, bright sky, the umbrella. I am not going to call all of these out, but just noticing. And as you're noticing how you're arriving and the metaphor of weather that connects with that, what is one word that would capture your intention for this session? What are you bringing?
Clarity.
So happy to see all this curiosity. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So we're going to be focusing on creativity as a practical lever for clarity, for connection, for insight. And look at that, we've got so much curiosity, so much surprise, learning, new ideas, exploration. Imagine a team coaching session that's starting with those sorts of intentions coming in already. And all that we're doing is connecting to ourselves. Why weather? Well, weather comes in systems, in cycles, in seasons, as does our team coaching. And it's just a starter for conversation. It's a starter to check in. It's a starter for noticing where your team's at. And it's a starter for asking what your team wants. So let's have a little look at the next slide, Katerina, please. One above.
Right.
There we go. Thank you. So on the slide here, I've got creativity requires structure and safety. I know lots of people think, oh my goodness, creativity, it's all finger paint and papier-mâché and all going a bit crazy and there's no structure. I'm going to say creative coaching requires containment. It requires safety, structure, and permission. So if we think about the team coaching competencies 3 and 4, these really remind us of the importance of building, maintaining safety, structure, order, so that we can introduce new and creative methods and new and creative ways of thinking. So what I like to say in this situation with teams or with any coaching situation is A, B, C. We don't stop at the original contracting. We're checking in. So always be contracting, or if you like, always be checking in. What do we need? How are we going to create this safe space? So if we think about always checking in, it's not just because we want to keep control, but there are reasons here. If we think about why this matters, we've got some quotes here from some real experts in the field, and Amy Edmondson, who's very famous for talking about psychological safety, she reminds us that this psychological safety we're building as team coaches isn't just about being nice. It's not about all being polite and all getting on all the time. It's enabling learning. It's opening space to risk, to the unknown, to getting it wrong, to exploring. And Dan Siegel calls the brain a prediction organ. And what we generally do is, as humans, we resist uncertainty, and our brain wants to go to the old thought patterns, especially when it's not feeling particularly comfortable or safe or confident. And this means that our brains, given the right conditions, actually love exercises where the brain's allowed to join the dots and make sense of connections. 𝗵𝗿𝗱𝗁 says, structure liberates. So again, thinking about those team coaching competencies, it really wasn't just accidental that we've got all of the importance of creating, building, and maintaining. So ABC, always being checking in, always contracting to maintain that safety and structure for us to really be able to bring that space for creativity into a coaching session. Now we can have the next one, please. So why? Why does creativity work? Well, if we bring creativity into a session with that safety, a creative way of thinking actually calms the limbic system. It reduces defensiveness. It builds, with those new connections, new neural pathways. So we've got this whole neuroplasticity, not just happening in one individual, but in the team as a whole. They're creating new ways of being, new ways of understanding, new ways of working. It unlocks emotional and intuitive insight. You didn't have to tell me anything about what was going on for you before this session for you to say storm or whatever it was that you put into the chat with the check-in. You just need to know. But when we talk about weather with a team, for instance, then we can each get an understanding of what stormy weather might mean for us, what might mean for the team, what it might mean beyond the team. And it builds trust. It's building trust through shared low-stakes play, low-stakes exploration. And it isn't fluff, it isn't nonsense, it isn't all finger paint, it's function. And as Einstein said, creativity is intelligence having fun. So we need this sense of playfulness, this sense of fun. And I would probably add something I was reminded of really recently, which was, I don't know if you've ever seen it, John Cleese and his speech on creativity in management. And remind me, I'll put the link in the chat at the end. Because he was also saying creativity isn't a talent. It's not something you're born with. If we understand it in business, if we understand it as an act in and of itself, creativity is a way of operating. So it's also a way of operating a process that needs the right, or what he calls the open mode conditions to flourish. And he names some of these things as time, space, freedom to explore, freedom to invite, playfulness, new thinking. And that's also the purpose of team coaching when we get down to it, to carve out these structured pieces of time away from the hamster wheel, the rat race, whatever you want to call it, the business as usual, so that we can think and innovate, so that we can find new perspectives, ways we haven't yet thought about working. And this is how we create enough distance and containment for new thinking and real change to occur. And I'm realizing that, oh, thank you, Jonathan. Please watch it. It's fantastic. Inside every human, so me, you, every team member, every coach, every supervisor, lives a team of inner narratives. Some encourages, others not so much. And when we're in a usual grouping and we think, oh, should I say that out loud? Is this going to will it make a fool of me? Or I don't know what they think about it, or keep quiet, speak up, whatever your inner critic tells you. Some are helpful, some aren't. And in team coaching, this like inner narrative, when that safe space isn't really there yet, these inner critics, or what I love to call party poopers, they pop up, and they pop up when there's ambiguity, when there's risk, when there's discomfort. They whisper, or like mine at the moment, knowing it's speaking about creativity in front of all these professionals, is jumping up and down and yelling on my shoulder. They're always going to be present. And the thing is, it's not a problem that we have them, not at all. It's a problem that we're not noticing them and putting some sort of buffer space, some sort of safe distance between them before we work with the team. So a psychologist, no, don't watch it now. A psychologist, Nathaniel Brandon said, as he said, and I'm sure many of you have heard this, that you can only control what you are aware of. What lies outside of our awareness controls us. So when we're working with a team, whatever we're doing, putting that safe structure in place is absolutely crucial for opening up new thinking, new exploration, new perspectives. So as coaches, the same applies to us. We can't expect our clients to open up, explore, innovate, feel that safety if we don't have that fertile open mode space to work with too. So coaching supervision, that offers me my supportive and playful exploration space. And I would really emphasize the fact that we do our work first before we go in to create that safe space and expect a team to do their work. And this is all incredibly easy to say, not so easy to get a sense of. So I'm going to invite you into a really small exercise if you would choose to join me. So if you do choose to join me, you're going to need a little bit of something to write on, a piece of paper, scrap of paper, something to write with, something to draw with. And I'm going to invite you, should you choose to join me, to bring a challenging situation to mind. It can be a challenging team coaching situation, doesn't have to be. And as you're bringing it to mind, I want to tell you first and foremost, there is no right or wrong way of doing this, and no one is going to ask you to share anything. No one's going to ask you to share anything. So take a breath and just allow whatever the situation is to play through your mind. And as you do, notice what shifts in your physical body, in your thoughts, maybe the emotions that pop up. And allowing all those sights and sounds and thoughts to mind. Not overthinking. And just as a really quick example, I'm noticing my heart is pounding, my jaw is tense. I noticed I tucked my feet up under my chair. There's no right or wrong or good or bad. And now just doing it quickly. You take your piece of paper and your pen or pencil And I'm going to ask you to do something very silly. Change hands. And now with your non-dominant hand, and as quickly, messy, playfully and simply as you like, just draw the character that is saying that stuff to you. And for those of you whose party poopers are saying, well, I don't know how to draw, or that's nonsense, that's okay. Maybe you need to draw that party pooper. And you're using your non-dominant hand. We're just connecting with the inner child. We're connecting with just anything is right, nothing's wrong. And we're disconnecting from the sense of perfection. And as I said, you don't need to show me anything, but this is mine. Can you see it? Oops. And as you look at whatever's in front of you, just imagine it can speak. And just notice what it tries to say to you. Maybe how it's trying to communicate with you. And if you like, you might want to give it a name. The sillier, the better. And what you've done is you've just created some distance between your inner critic, the ideas, the defense mechanisms that are potentially going to hold you back. And we're going to take it and just pop it off to the side somewhere, far enough to be out of the way, but not so far as you can't keep an eye on it. When we do this in person with a team, quite often they'll be screwed up and launched across the room. I've seen people sit on them, stand on them, tear them up, even take them out into the hallway. It doesn't matter. But we're just creating awareness. We are aware of the inner critic now, so we have control. What we ask then, and of course I'm doing it very quickly today, is we ask, how do you know that that character and that inner critic narrative has snuck back in to our creative discussion, to our exploration, to our new perspectives? Maybe it is the jaw tightening, maybe it is the shoulders rising. Maybe it's holding the breath. No right or wrong, whatever it is fine. And then we ask the team, and you can ask yourself, what's the antidote? What will you do when you notice that narrative creeping back into our discussion or creeping back into your thoughts to put it back over there? And you'd be amazed how interesting and rich and vibrant the conversation can be then about something that is incredibly deep and personal and private to people, because I called mine Stan, because I'm talking about Stan and when Stan shows up and what I can bring to the team when Stan isn't there. So let's just pop down one more slide, if we may. And just notice what it feels like. Oh, well, there's your party poopers. See Stan saying, I told you you'd screw up. Thank you, Katerina, one more. Okay, very, very different. Very quickly, we're going to go into the 3 core parts of using creativity in team coaching. And in the meantime, if you have a name for your party pooper to come and join Stan, then please, by all means, pop it in the chat box. So 3 core ways that I'm going to talk about today I'd really love an opportunity to try and do a very quick exercise with these afterwards. So we'll see if we have time. So I'm going to fly through this. 3 kinds of metaphor. The first kind of metaphor is just like we did with the check-in. It's even a little bit like the one we just did with my Stan and Angry Egg and Blair and Mayhem and Bob and all the lovely little characters, Bully, yeah, that are coming into the chat. We're giving a metaphor to something that means it's no longer us. I am not Stan. Stan is not me. Stan, when I have awareness of him, I can control by putting certain things in place. I can then enter a conversation by saying, my storm or my party pooper is this at the moment, but what I need for this conversation is ABC. It's putting that safety buffer, that distance between you are and Stan is trying to tell me that. It's a huge difference when we're working with a team or individual. So again, this is the way I say that it unlocks unspoken dynamics is exactly that, because I can talk to you about Stan and what Stan needs and what Stan's demanding and where Stan is at the moment in terms of our team coaching conversation without telling you what's about it, what I'm scared of, what my fears are, whether it's my mother's voice or my teacher's voice. Do you see, we can talk about something that is absolutely neutral and do something about it. We have a shared language when we talk about party poopers. And just as an example, we can say to the team, so if this team were a boat, how well would we be sailing right now? And all of a sudden, we've created that shared language. We can talk about the navigation, we can talk about the compass, we can talk about the wind, the weather, what's happening in the bigger sea. We can talk about the oars or not, or whether the engine's working or not. And before we know it, we've actually moved forward and considered a number of elements that are potentially holding the team back or they haven't thought about yet, that we wouldn't have got to if we started to talk about, so where are the problems and what really needs to be done here? Keeping your ears open is a wonderful tool here, just listening for what the team brings. It's amazing. Or we keep running into a brick wall. We're all on the same boat, but nobody's got an oar, or they may be talking about, you know, we're supposed to be a well-oiled machine and things aren't going well. So listen for what they're using, but with permission, you can bring something like this too. Hands-on thinking is, I don't know if you've used Magic Box, for instance, if you've been working with a team, which is just sort of beads and buttons and moving things around to explain a complex situation. I trained with 𝗵𝗲𝗹𝗶𝗁 to become a Lego coach. Some of you might know Lego play. So it's using our hands to draw something, using our hands to think in new ways, to set out the dimensions, to notice what's working, what isn't, notice the space in between things. And we can see new perspectives, because if someone's on that side of the room, they're going to see something in the Lego build or the Magic Box constellation that someone on the other side of the room isn't. So we're moving, we're saying, what if? What if I placed this here? What if it was like that? Da, 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 da. The last one is actually a very similar sort of spatial awareness, but it's where we get the team to actually stand up and move inside a metaphor. So one of the ways I love to do this is to get the team to consider the situation that they're in as an environment, as a map. So where are the resources? Where are the boundaries? Where are the communication lines? Where are the transport lines? Where are they blocked? How is it working? Where are the other tribes? And so on. So it's about getting them to walk inside, best when it's in person, but it can also work quite well with virtual teams. And we're moving things, we're shifting things and standing inside and just asking, what can I see from here? There's a mountain in the way. What could that mountain represent? And so on. So they're the three core ways that I would generally bring creativity into a team coaching. And I'm sure you can probably think of some other. But for the sake of time, and we really don't have very much left, I'm going to invite you to a very, very quick exercise. So you can take this down now, Katerina. And as I say, it's going to be super, super quick. I would probably be doing something like this with a team over the space of a day, and we're going to do it in about, 7 minutes. So just invite yourself into playfulness. Invite yourself into there's no wrong. Everything goes. Notice where your feet are. Notice where your party pooper is. I'm going to make sure that Stan is well and truly over there. Don't need to share. Don't need to tell anyone. No wrong. Look around you and choose something to represent yourself in the situation that you brought to mind before. So the situation with the party poopers. First thing, let it choose you. Okay. Put it in your hand. Just hold it. Notice its colours, its shapes, its patterns. And now, as you're holding it, this is you. Imagine you could take this situation, rewind it, start again. What would the thing in your hand, what would it tell you to do differently next time? What would mini you know that you didn't? If you had its wisdom, if you had its qualities, how would you have responded differently, acted differently? Just noticing whatever emerges is right, unless it's a party pooper, and then you know what to do. So now, let's get to that hands-on. I've got my character, and whatever yours is, put it on the desk or the floor or whatever surface you have. And then just taking 3, 4, 5 other items around you that represent other parts of this scenario. So not too many. That might represent people in this situation or pressures, patterns. It doesn't have to be a thing or a person. It can be a feeling or an emotion or a blockage. And just, I'm going to give you 1 minute. Just put those elements around the situation with you in it. No wrong. Just go with the flow. Let your hands choose. Okay, now you've got your little constellation. We're going to call it a posh word. This is the situation. Just notice the placement, the pattern, maybe the spaces in between, maybe the angles between things. Notice the direction you're facing and where the other characters are facing or the other parts of this situation are facing. And what do you notice now that you didn't notice about this situation before? As you look at it, if you're able to stand or in some way reposition yourself, do. Find a different position to look at this scenario from. And as you view the setup from another angle, what do you notice about the setup from here that you couldn't before? I'm noticing that I was not looking at the most important thing in the room. I was entirely concentrated on something else. So if you feel the need to move a piece, change a piece, mine fell under the table, which is just how it felt at the time, do so. What happens if you move a piece here? What happens if you remove a piece? Is there something that you would want to place? And the last part, we can't walk into this, but if you're able to get yourself down to eye level with your mini figure, the thing that represents you, and see what it can see from down there. What do you see it looking at? Ah, look, that's completely blocked. So from this position, what have you learned about that situation? What can you see differently now that you couldn't before? And now, if you're able to stand, just stand up. Look at it from far away as if you are a bird looking down at it. What do you notice from this meta position that you couldn't see in the situation or from down at the eye level of your figure? Looking at it like an eagle, what do you see? You might want to move to another position. And just noticing if all these pieces had voices, or the space between the pieces had voices. Ask a couple of them for a message. For them to share their wisdom about this situation. They could give you some advice. What would they give you? If we were doing this for the team and with a little bit more time, we would stand and walk around the situation that the team created and the elements. Sometimes it's been a chair, sometimes it's been a laptop, sometimes it's been a cushion. It doesn't matter. We can talk about a situation. And then the final part is to invite them to take a step into each space, whether it's my little Lego man or whether it's the, the little bunny I had here or the ladybird. You get them to stand in the space, breathe in the essence of, and speak. It can be speaking from the problem. It can be speaking from another team perspective. It can be speaking from a world perspective, an environmental perspective. So just take your original figure that represented you into your hand. And just as we finish, just notice what's clearer now. What do you, big you and little you, know now that you didn't know before? What's clearer about the situation? And then I promised I would finish at 22. So my only other question would be, what shifted? What shifted? And you can pop it in the chat. And I'm going to hand back over to Katerina.
Thank you very much, Gillian. I'm going to put in the chat also the resources where you can find Gillian's work. Here we have also the, so on the chat you can find the links to access the resources that are mentioned here and we mentioned at the beginning, and learn more about Gillian's work. Maybe if someone would like to share what metaphor describes how you are living this session. Okay. Oh.
I'm just looking in the chat at what came from the couple of minutes that we did that exercise. Imagine having half a day or a day to do that with a team.
Brilliant.
A smiley. Thank you, Eva. Oh, my behind the scenes.
Eva and Gillian are partners in crime. They are a duo that actually has been awesome.
Can I just mention that
Yes.
Gillian's accent when she says party pooper is I am never going to be able to take that internal looking view seriously ever again, because I'm going to hear it in Gillian's voice from now on. So thank you for that. I think that's going to turn out to be a gift.
Yeah, sure.
And that's the whole point. What doesn't exist? I don't exist.
It's a little profile, apparently. We will put it again. And we would really, okay, we have more metaphors of how people are living. We're so excited, actually. We're so happy. Yeah, I kept taking notes in this session, and I think this is the beauty of coaching profession, that we always learn, we always develop, and if we are open in the safety of the space, as Gillian said at the beginning, like, yeah, feel free to make mistakes. They are not right and wrong. We are more relaxed to let ideas come in to us. Speaking from experience, I just had 2 notes for my presentation tomorrow. Well, thank you everyone so much. Unfortunately, we have only 1 minute left, but if you have any questions for Gillian about her presentation and the topic today, please put them on the LinkedIn, on the comments of the post. And if Jonathan would like to put the link of that post also, you can go directly. Oh, there. Okay. We have more links of Gillian's profile. Excellent. You can follow TCGA's posts on LinkedIn, and there's the latest one is about Gillian's session. You can put there any questions that you have about Gillian's presentation today and the topic. That was it. And that, to everyone, was the end of our very first session of the very first Team Coaching Global Summit. We are really, really grateful to all of you who have joined us, and we are looking forward to see you either in another session of the summit or, you know, in the visual corridors of LinkedIn and other places. We wish you all a very, very lovely rest of the day and creative day. Bye, everyone.
Go and play.